If you want to know more about stained glass, the creative process, or just curious about this beautiful art form, then you are in the right place. So get out your notebooks and get ready for this amazing training just for you. I'm Jeanne Gomm, and my husband David and I are owners of Gomm Stained Glass, and this is our studio. And some training that I am going to talk about today comes from a question that I have been asked many times. So hopefully it will help you. Maybe you had this very same question. So someone wanted to know, how long does it take to make a stained glass window? Good question. So there are 3 different things to keep in mind. One is size. Okay, so for instance, if you have a 12 by 12 inch panel, that's going to take a lot less time than if you have a huge panel. And so that makes perfect sense, right? So the circumstances will vary. Now the size makes a difference because a 12 by 12 usually has, I would say, between 15 to 30 pieces. Okay, and that's pretty good. Some have more. I've had 40 or 50 pieces in a 12 by 12, but of course that's going to take you a lot less time. I have had students who come 2 hours per week, can finish one in, say, 3 times that they come, so that's 6 hours. If I work during the day, just come out here, I'd say 6 hours is a pretty good time limit for a 12 by 12. Now, for instance, one that I am going to show you, this is a waterfall window, and it is, I think it is 67 by 29. Anyway, we can give you the dimensions here on this page, but that took, I would say, about 4 weeks. And the reason is because there were so many pieces. So that's the second thing, is how many pieces? Okay, and like we talked about, it could be anywhere from 15 pieces to, say, this one has 385 pieces. The one that you're seeing now. There was a lot of work going into this one, and that's not the biggest one that we've ever made, though. We had some blossom windows. There were 4 different panels of blossom windows, beautiful, and each one approximately 400 pieces. So that's, like 1,200 pieces, and so there are a lot of pieces that go into that. Of course, that's going to take you a longer time. Okay, then the third thing to keep in mind is the difficulty of design. So if you have something, for instance, something like this one, this tree pattern that is just very few pieces, and it's a beautiful little tree. I'm not sure how many pieces are in there, but the difficulty is not substantial. Most of the cuts, actually all of these cuts, are straight lines. So yeah, and I was going to talk about this. So we just recently finished a window that was done in mirrored glass. Now these were difficult pieces because the mirrored glass was very, very thick. It had to be done on a saw, and it took a long time. You have to figure out the configuration just to get in to cut the piece. So, of course you're going to think about that as you're working. So, a large piece, of course, is more difficult to cut since there's a greater chance of breakage. Which brings us to lamps. A lamp is a lot more difficult. First of all, it has little teeny pieces if you're doing a Tiffany style lamp. And if you have to get in there and work with one piece, then you have to make sure the pieces all around them fit. It's just harder. That's just the name of the tune. So anyway, so these are some of the things. And I told you that the waterfall window took about 4 weeks. I'd say 3 weeks just to do the cutting, the foiling, and the soldering. But there was at least a week before that where we had to draw the piece, and I had to call a friend and kind of get her opinion, and she did some doodles on it to make it an even more wonderful piece. And then after that, David had to take it, the little pattern that we drew, and put it on CAD, and then he'll give me back the pattern. All of this takes time. So I would say anywhere from 3 days to 3 months. We did a big mosaic piece. Took about 3 months for all of the cutting and the gluing and the grouting. So this is just, an idea of what we can do and on the variety of working with different things. So, but while you're working, it doesn't mean that you have to be bored, because actually I never get bored. I go from one thing to the next. I listen to podcasts out here, and that's a great way to pass the time when you're doing something that's a little tedious. Sometimes foiling can get tedious, and so podcasts are a really good thing. Some people even say that they have a television close by that they can work with. Out here in the studio, I've not tried that, but I have taken the small windows downstairs and foiled in front of the TV. Usually something I've already seen, so I don't have to pay a whole lot of attention. So anyway, so I think that kind of answers the question. The thing that does take the longest time, and that's a question, is what takes you the longest time? This we didn't even mention. What takes a long time is choosing colors. Because you have, for instance, the waterfall, back to that one, you have to pick, well, what does water look like? What does the falls look like? What does the foam coming up from the falls look like? And so you have to take into consideration all those colors. Sometimes I will spread colors of glass all over the studio, just trying to get the perfect color for what I want. So a lot of times that takes a long time to do. So I am asked, what is your favorite part of doing a stained glass window? And my favorite part is the design. Oh, I could sit and just draw different designs and have the best time, and come up with all kinds of different ways that the colors could go together, and it's so fun. The second thing that is my favorite, and it's just as fun, and that is when you are finished with the window, you lift it up, the sun comes shining through that beautiful stained glass window, and it's like you're seeing it for the first time. It's so different laying on the table than seeing it with the light shining through. Amazing. That has got to be my favorite part. So from the concept to the building to the seeing it with the light shining through, it takes time, but it's time well spent. I love it when a student will finish a project and feel so proud and so happy with the work that they've done, and I feel that every single time. So thanks for being with me, talking a little bit about design and color and everything that goes into the beautiful stained glass. And I hope that you'll try it sometime. If not, whenever you see a piece of stained glass, you'll have a little bit more understanding of how it's made. So thanks. This has been Jeannie in the Stained Glass Studio, and I'll see you next time.